The USS Horizon glided silently through the darkness of space. Captain Sarah Klein sat in the cockpit, staring at the endless stretch of stars. Humanity had finally mastered interstellar travel, and this mission was supposed to be routine, exploring uncharted regions, gathering data and returning home safely. Routine. But Sarah knew, as every space traveler did, that in space, routine rarely lasted long. Course plotted, Captain. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The navigator called, his voice steady but tense. Sarah pressed her hands to the controls, feeling the familiar hum of the jump drive. The ship shuddered violently. The stars twisted, stretched, and then vanished. Darkness engulfed everything, and the crew held on tight, hearts pounding in anticipation and fear. When the light returned, Sarah's breath caught. This was wrong. The view outside the cockpit was not the deep, empty expanse they expected. Instead, they faced a colossal fleet. Ships of impossible size and geometry floated silently, their surfaces gleaming with alien metal. Some were longer than moons. Others bristled with strange weapons that pulsed with energy Sarah could feel even from here. Where are we? Ensign Patel whispered, staring at the endless armada. Sarah's stomach twisted. I don't know. This is not any sector we've mapped. A sudden voice boomed through the comms, loud and cold. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, like the voice of the galaxy itself. Unidentified vessel, you have entered Imperial territory. State your allegiance. The crew froze. Sarah swallowed hard. This is Captain Sarah Klein of the United Earth Space Agency. We mean no harm. We are explorers. There was a long, chilling pause. Then the voice returned, sharper this time. Explorers do not enter Imperial space without permission. Prepare for inspection. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The Galactic Empire was not just a government. It was a force that spanned hundreds of star systems. Obedience was law and mercy was rare. Humans were unknown here. They had accidentally crossed a threshold no human had ever crossed before. Should we attempt evasive maneuvers? Patel asked, voice trembling. No, Sarah said firmly. We have no weapons capable of fighting them. We survive by being human. The Empire's ships began to move, encircling the horizon with terrifying precision. Their engines thrummed like thunder, and the sheer scale of the fleet made the horizon look like a single droplet in a stormy ocean. Sarah felt the weight of humanity's fragility pressing on her chest. She thought of Earth, cities glowing under the night sky, children dreaming under familiar stars, families living their small, peaceful lives, and now, in an instant, they had stumbled into a civilization that could annihilate them with a single command. Despite the fear, a spark of stubbornness lit inside her. Humans had survived catastrophes on their own planet, adapted to the impossible, and fought against overwhelming odds. Sarah looked at her crew, their eyes wide with fear yet shining with hope. Remember this, she said, her voice steady. We are human, and humans have a way of surviving, even when the odds are stacked against us. Another transmission came from the Empire, sharper and more threatening. Identify yourselves immediately. Failure to comply will result in destruction. Sarah's hands hovered over the console. Every instinct screamed caution, but deep inside she knew that humans were never meant to bow quietly to the impossible. The horizon glowed like a single spark in a sea of cold, calculated metal, and in that spark burned the stubborn, fierce heart of humanity. Defiant, unyielding, alive. Somewhere in the massive fleet surrounding them, the Empire had no idea what they were about to face. For now, silence stretched over the stars, but Sarah could feel it in her bones. The storm was coming, and humans had no intention of hiding. The USS Horizon floated in the heart of the Imperial fleet, a tiny speck of humanity surrounded by machines built to intimidate entire worlds. Alarms continued to hum quietly, but Sarah forced herself to stay calm. She knew panic could be contagious, and her crew needed her steady presence now more than ever. Captain, Ensign Patel said, his voice tight. They're opening a docking channel. They want us to come aboard. Sarah's jaw tightened. We can't just walk into their territory. But if we refuse, they'll destroy us. We have to play this carefully. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Lieutenant Vega, the communications officer, wiped sweat from his brow. Their sensors are probably reading every heartbeat on this ship. Any sudden movement could trigger an attack. Sarah nodded. Prepare a greeting. Calm, polite, and human. Nothing more. Minutes later, a massive docking bay opened on one of the nearest Imperial ships. The horizon slowly aligned, guided by invisible forces that pressed them toward the interior. The walls around them glowed with alien symbols, shimmering in colors Sarah couldn't name. The crew's fear was palpable, but so was their awe. Humanity had never seen technology like this. When the hatch opened, they were greeted not by soldiers, but by an Imperial envoy. Tall, imposing, and clad in armor that seemed to absorb light, the figure regarded the humans silently. Its eyes, dark and sharp, seemed to measure every thought in their minds. "I am Commander Velik of the Galactic Empire," the envoy said, his voice cold as ice. "You have entered Imperial space without permission. Explain yourselves." Sarah straightened. She could feel her heart pounding, but she forced a calm tone. "Commander Velik, we come from Earth. We are explorers. Our jump drive malfunctioned, and we accidentally entered your space. We mean no harm." Velik tilted his head, studying her. "Your words are curious. Few creatures survive this far into our territory uninvited, yet you have no visible weapons capable of challenging us. Why should I believe you?" Sarah took a deep breath. She glanced at her crew and saw the same fear, and the same stubborn spark she had always admired. "Because humans survive. We have faced extinction before, and we adapt. We have no desire for war, but if attacked, we will fight to protect ourselves." The envoy's gaze seemed to flicker, as if surprised by her confidence. "Humans?" Velik repeated, almost as if tasting the word. "Few species have the nerve to speak with such certainty in the face of annihilation." Sarah held his stare. "We do not ask for mercy. We ask for understanding. We are explorers, not conquerors. But we will not surrender." Velik studied her for a long moment. Then, to everyone's shock, he nodded slowly. "Interesting. Very well. You will be escorted to the Imperial Council. They will decide your fate. Any attempt to escape or deceive us will result in immediate destruction." The humans were herded into a shuttle far larger than the horizon. The interior was sleek and cold, yet mesmerizing. As they traveled deeper into the Empire's heart, Sarah felt a mixture of fear and pride. Fear for their survival, pride in knowing that even in this vast, indifferent galaxy, humans stood tall. Patel whispered, almost to himself, "Captain, do you really think we can survive this?" Sarah smiled faintly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We always survive, Patel. That's what humans do. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe underestimates us." As the shuttle moved, the humans caught glimpses of the Empire's cities inside the massive ships, worlds of metal and energy, systems humming with life they had never imagined. For a moment, Sarah felt small, insignificant. But then she remembered Earth, remembered the stories of human courage, human ingenuity, and human defiance. She knew that no matter how vast the Empire, they had something it did not. The relentless, unyielding heart of humanity. And somewhere deep inside, she realized that this encounter, the accidental jump into forbidden space, might change everything. Not just for humans, but for the Empire itself. The shuttle doors opened onto a world of gleaming towers and alien authority. The humans stepped forward, small and fragile, yet unbowed. And in that moment, the first threads of a story that would shake the galaxy had begun to weave themselves. The humans stepped into a hall that seemed to stretch endlessly. Towering columns of polished metal glowed faintly, casting long shadows across the floor. At the far end, a semicircular dais held a group of figures seated like gods. Their armor gleamed, their faces unreadable, and their eyes carried the weight of entire star systems. This was the Imperial Council, rulers of hundreds of worlds, the ultimate authority in the galaxy. Sarah swallowed hard. Her legs felt like lead, but she forced herself to walk forward. She could feel the gaze of the council probing her, testing her resolve. She thought of Earth, its forests, oceans, cities, people who depended on her. And she reminded herself, humans survived impossible odds. "Captain Sarah Klein of the United Earth Space Agency," a voice boomed from the dais. "You have trespassed into Imperial space. Explain why your species should not be annihilated for this crime." Sarah took a deep breath. "We are explorers, not invaders. Our jump drive malfunctioned, and we accidentally entered your space. We have no weapons capable of threatening the Empire. We seek only to learn and return home safely." A tall figure leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Your words are curious, human. You speak boldly, yet you are defenseless. Most species in your position would beg for mercy." Sarah met his gaze steadily. "We do not beg. We do not demand special treatment. We are humans, and humans survive. We adapt. We fight when we must, and we create when others see only obstacles. If you look at us only as weak creatures, you may find yourselves surprised. A murmur spread through the council. Some leaned closer, intrigued. Others seemed, used. Sarah noticed the smallest details, the way a hand clenched, the quick glance between two elders. The humans were tiny, fragile, yet their defiance had made the council pause. One of the council members, older and more imposing than the rest, spoke slowly. You claim your species survives the impossible, and yet here you are, completely at our mercy. Do you not fear death? Sarah's voice rang out steady and clear. Fear does not define us. Survival does, and sometimes the universe underestimates us, because it has never faced humans at their best. Silence fell. The council studied her, their expressions unreadable. Then the older member leaned back, his gaze calculating. Curious. Few species have the courage to speak as you do. Perhaps there is potential in your kind, but potential does not guarantee survival. You will be tested. The words sent a chill through the crew, but Sarah held her head high. We accept your tests. We ask only that you see humans for what we truly are, not just weak creatures in need of mercy. The council conferred among themselves, their discussion carried out in a language Sarah could barely understand. Yet even without translation, she sensed the tension. Something about humans, their courage, their audacity was stirring an unexpected reaction. Finally, the older member turned back. Very well. You will undergo a series of trials. Fail, and your species will be marked as expendable. Succeed, and perhaps you will earn a place in our records, if not our respect. Sarah nodded, swallowing her fear. We will do whatever it takes. Humans never give up. As the humans were escorted from the hall, Sarah looked at her crew. They were frightened, yes, but also alive with a strange energy. Hope mixed with determination. The Empire believed they were fragile, powerless. But Sarah knew something they did not. Humans had a strength that could not be measured by weapons, fleets, or technology. It was in their minds, their hearts, their ability to think, improvise, and never surrender. In the trials to come, the Empire would see it firsthand, and somewhere deep inside, Sarah allowed herself a small, proud smile. They had stumbled into the heart of a galaxy-spanning power, and yet even now they had not broken. In fact, humans were only beginning to show what they could do when pushed to the edge. The trials ahead would be dangerous, terrifying, and uncertain. But if the humans could survive this, if they could defy expectations here, then perhaps the galaxy had underestimated them. As it always did, the humans were led into a massive chamber that seemed to defy gravity. Platforms floated in the air, lights pulsed in strange patterns, and machines hummed with power Sarah had never imagined. This was the first of the Council's trials, a test designed to measure intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Sarah looked at her crew. Fear was in their eyes, but so was determination. They were tired, overwhelmed, and far from home. But humans had a way of rising when the odds were stacked impossibly against them. The trial is simple, a voice echoed through the chamber. Navigate the maze. Survive its dangers. Only the worthy reach the exit. Patel swallowed hard. Maze, it looks impossible. How are we supposed to survive this? Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder. We find a way. That's what humans do. We don't give up. The maze shifted as they entered, walls moving, corridors twisting, and traps triggering with blinding speed. Alarms rang, and strange energy pulses threatened to disable the ship's suits. Each step tested not just their intelligence but their patience and courage. Sarah led the way, analyzing patterns, noticing the smallest details. See those pulses? She said. They're rhythmic. Wait for them, then move. Timing is everything. The crew followed her lead, hearts pounding, legs moving almost on instinct. Every misstep triggered alarms, and the maze seemed to punish failure. Yet slowly, step by careful step, they adapted. Hours passed, though it felt like days. Patel almost gave up when a corridor seemed to close in around him. Sarah grabbed his hand. You can do this, look at me. Humans survive because we refuse to quit. Remember that. Vega, the communications officer, spotted a pattern in the energy pulses. Captain, I think I can predict the traps. If we move now, we can reach the central platform safely. Sarah nodded. Do it. We trust humans to read the impossible. The crew moved as one, synchronized by determination and instinct. They dodged, leapt, and calculated their every move. The maze tested them, tried to break them, but humans had a stubborn streak that refused to bend. Finally, they reached the central platform. The walls shifted one last time, forming a perfect circle around them. A door opened, revealing the exit. The humans stepped through, exhausted but triumphant. As they emerged, a holographic figure appeared, projecting the image of the Imperial Council. "Remarkable," the voice said. "Few species have completed even half of the challenges. Yet you have done so. Through courage, intelligence, and cooperation. There is potential in your kind." Sarah exhaled, relief washing over her. Her crew smiled, exhausted but proud. For the first time since entering Imperial space, they felt a spark of hope. The trials were not just tests. They were a chance to prove what humans could do. Patel laughed softly, disbelief in his voice. "I can't believe we made it. I thought we were done for." Sarah shook her head, smiling. "Humans never give up, Patel. That's why we're still here." The Council's voice came again, cold but tinged with curiosity. "Your species shows resilience beyond expectation. Yet survival in our galaxy requires more than courage. You must demonstrate creativity, strategy, and the ability to influence events beyond mere instinct." Sarah nodded. "We understand. Humans are more than our strength or numbers. We think, we adapt, and we fight, not just with weapons, but with our minds." The crew gathered closer, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. The trials were far from over. The Council wanted more than survival. They wanted proof that humans could thrive, even in a galaxy built to crush them. But Sarah felt no fear. Instead, she felt a quiet pride. Humans had come this far through sheer will, ingenuity, and heart, and whatever the next trial brought, they would face it as they always had, together, unyielding, and alive with a spark no machine could ever extinguish. As they prepared for the next challenge, Sarah looked at her crew and whispered, almost to herself, "They think they can test humans, but they have no idea who they're dealing with." Somewhere deep in the galaxy, the Imperial Council began to realize that humans were not just a fragile species. They were a force unlike any they had ever seen. And this was only the beginning. The humans were led into a chamber larger than any they had ever seen. The ceiling arched far above them, glowing with energy that made the air feel alive. Platforms floated in the center, each surrounded by pools of shifting light. The Council's voice echoed through the room. "This is your next test," it said. "A test of courage, strategy, and endurance. You will face a simulated battle. Only those who think, adapt, and act as one will survive." Sarah's chest tightened. A battle, even simulated, it would push them to their limits. She glanced at her crew, Patel, Vega, and the others, all of them tense but trusting her. She drew in a deep breath. "We've made it this far. We survive because we refuse to quit. Keep your minds clear, your hearts steady, and we'll make it." The simulation began. Instantly, the room transformed. Massive enemy ships appeared above them, firing energy beams that cracked the platforms beneath their feet. The humans' suits glowed as shields activated, but they were limited. Every step, every decision mattered. One wrong move could mean virtual death or worse, failure in the eyes of the Council. "Move to the left platform," Sarah shouted. "Watch the beams." "Timing is everything." Patel dodged a pulse of energy and barely made it. "Captain, it's impossible." "No," Sarah said firmly. "It's not impossible. It's human. We survive because we adapt." Vega tapped into the simulation controls. "Captain, I can analyze their attack patterns. We might be able to predict the next wave." Sarah nodded. "Do it," humans think. Humans calculate. Humans survive against odds no one expects. Step by step, they learned the rhythm of the simulation. They moved as one unit, covering each other, finding weak points in the attack. The Council's challenge was designed to be impossible, yet humans found solutions no machine could predict. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. Energy pulses struck the platforms, forcing quick thinking and split-second decisions. Fatigue crept in, but determination drove them forward. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities, improvising tactics, using the environment, and turning what seemed like traps into advantages. Finally, the last wave approached. Massive energy beams, faster and deadlier than anything before, threatened to overwhelm them. Patel hesitated, fear creeping in. "I can't." Sarah grabbed his arm. "Yes, you can. Humans survive. We face the impossible, we think, and we fight. Not just with weapons, but with our hearts." With synchronized movement, the crew executed a maneuver no simulation could anticipate. They used the floating platforms, the energy pulses, and their teamwork to deflect the attacks. One by one, the enemy ships vanished and the chamber returned to its neutral glow. Silence fell. The Council's voice, now tinged with something almost like respect, spoke. Remarkable. Few species survive this trial. Fewer still complete it with strategy, creativity, and cooperation intact. Humans, you are unique. The crew slumped to the ground, exhaustion heavy in their bones. But there was a spark in their eyes, a quiet pride that only came from surviving the impossible. They had faced death in every form the Council could imagine and had not only survived, they had adapted, overcome, and triumphed. Sarah looked at her crew. "Do you see?" she said softly. "This is who we are. Humans survive. Humans adapt. Humans fight back even when the universe thinks we cannot." Patel smiled, a mix of relief and awe. "I never thought we could do this," Sarah shook her head. "You didn't doubt yourself. You doubted the impossible, and that's what humans excel at, turning impossible into reality." From somewhere deep in the chamber, the Council observed, analyzing, calculating. But even they could not hide their astonishment. Humanity, fragile and small in appearance, had survived what countless species would have failed. And for the first time, they realized the truth. Humans were not creatures to be controlled. They were a force to be reckoned with. As the humans were escorted out, Sarah allowed herself a small, proud smile. They were exhausted, battered, but alive, and the spark of human defiance burned brighter than ever. The Empire had thrown everything at them, yet here they were, standing unbowed and ready for whatever came next. Somewhere deep in her heart, Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and that would be its greatest mistake. The humans were exhausted, but they could feel something shifting in the air. The Council's trials had been designed to test their strength, intelligence, and courage. Yet humans had not just survived. They had outthought, outmaneuvered, and endured in ways the Empire had not anticipated. Sarah led her crew through the gleaming corridors of the Imperial ship. Every step echoed with the weight of expectation. The Council had called them back not as prisoners, but as something different, observers, perhaps even students of a species they had long underestimated. When they entered the chamber, the Council was waiting. Their armor gleamed, faces still unreadable, but there was a hint of curiosity in their eyes, a recognition that humans were extraordinary in ways the galaxy had never seen. "Captain Sarah Klein, crew of the Horizon," the voice of the older Council member boomed. "Your species has survived challenges that would have destroyed others. You have demonstrated intelligence, courage, and creativity. You are unlike any we have encountered." Sarah bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "Thank you, Council. We only did what humans have always done, adapted and survived. We seek no glory, no conquest, only understanding and a chance to return home safely," the Council murmured among themselves. Sarah could feel the tension in the room, but also a quiet respect forming. For the first time, humans were no longer seen as fragile, unpredictable creatures. They were survivors, thinkers, and warriors in their own right. One of the Council members, younger but sharp-eyed, leaned forward. "Most species in your position would beg for mercy, or break under pressure. You have neither begged nor broken. You inspire curiosity." Patel, still shaky from the trials, whispered, "Captain, do you think they're respecting us?" Sarah smiled faintly. "I think they are beginning to understand us, Patel. That's more than most species get the chance to achieve." The Council's voice returned, calmer now, almost contemplative. "Your species' resilience is notable. You face impossible odds with limited resources and yet succeed. That is remarkable." Sarah took a deep breath, feeling a surge of pride for her crew. They had come so far, from accidentally entering Imperial space to proving that humans were more than the galaxy had expected. "We did not seek to prove anything," she said softly. "But humans survive because we refuse to give up. We adapt, we think, and we work together. That is who we are." A silence fell over the chamber, not of judgment but of contemplation. The Council had seen countless species, each believing themselves clever or strong. Yet humans, small, fragile in appearance, and unarmed, had survived every test. Not by raw power, but by heart, ingenuity, and determination. The older Council member finally spoke again. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated your kind. You are persistent, creative, courageous. You have survived what should have destroyed you, and in doing so you have forced even us to acknowledge your value. Sarah's eyes glistened. This was more than survival, it was recognition. For humans, respect from the Empire was a gift no one could take lightly. We are honored, Council. But our mission remains simple. We wish to return home unharmed and continue exploring peacefully. That is all we ask. The Council conferred quietly among themselves. After a long moment, they spoke in unison. You may leave Imperial space unharmed. Your species has earned our attention. Perhaps one day humans will play a greater role in the galaxy than even you realize. A wave of relief washed over the crew. For the first time since entering Imperial space, they felt safe. But Sarah knew this was more than just survival. It was a victory of spirit, heart, and the unyielding human will. As the Horizon prepared to leave, Sarah looked at her crew, tired but triumphant. Do you see everyone? They may have power, numbers, and technology, but humans have something stronger. We have courage, creativity, and a heart that refuses to quit. That is our true strength. Patel smiled, hope shining in his eyes. Captain, I think they finally understand. Sarah nodded. Yes, but not fully. That is the beauty of being human. We are unpredictable. We survive, and we never ever give up. The Horizon lifted off, leaving the Imperial fleet behind. For the first time, humans were not just survivors, they were a species the galaxy had begun to respect. And somewhere deep in the stars, Sarah knew, the Empire had learned a lesson it would never forget. The USS Horizon broke free from the Imperial fleet, the stars stretching endlessly ahead. The human crew sat in silence, the hum of the ship filling the gaps where words had no power. They had survived the impossible, faced a civilization built to crush any who dared enter its domain, and emerged unbroken. Sarah leaned back in her chair, exhaustion heavy on her shoulders. Yet beneath that weariness burned a quiet pride. She looked at her crew, Patel, Vega, and the others, all still trembling from the intensity of the trials. They had stared into the abyss of the Empire and refused to blink. Captain, we actually did it, Patel whispered. We survived. And they respected us. Sarah smiled faintly. Not just survived, Patel. We showed them what humans are. That's worth more than any battle. The ship's sensors displayed the retreating Imperial fleet. For the first time, Sarah felt a sense of equality, not in strength but in spirit. The Empire had seen humans as fragile, unpredictable, and weak, but humans had something the Empire could not calculate: courage, heart, and the ability to turn hopelessness into strategy. Do you think they'll tell others? Vega asked, her voice soft. Sarah shook her head slowly. They may record our actions, maybe even remember them, but humans, we're not here to prove ourselves to anyone. We survive because we must, because we can, and because we refuse to give up. That's who we are. A wave of calm passed through the crew. The fear that had gripped them when they first jumped into Imperial space had been replaced by something stronger: confidence. They were small, fragile, and unarmed, yet they had faced the greatest force in the galaxy and emerged alive, unbroken and respected. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, remembering Earth, the home that awaited them. Children looking at the stars without knowing what awaited beyond. Families going about their lives unaware that humans had just rewritten the rules of survival in the galaxy. She felt a deep emotional connection to all of humanity. We are human, she said quietly, almost to herself. We survive. We adapt, we fight. And sometimes, just sometimes, we show the universe what it never expected. The crew nodded, sharing a silent understanding. This mission, meant to explore, had become something far greater. They had stumbled into the heart of a galactic empire and turned fear into respect, danger into triumph. The Horizon sailed through the stars, leaving the Imperial systems behind. But Sarah knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had entered the galaxy unprepared, unaware, and almost crushed, but they had emerged stronger, smarter, and wiser. And somewhere in the depths of the Empire, those who had watched them might never forget. Humans had survived the impossible. They had adapted. They had triumphed. And in doing so, they had carved a place for themselves in a galaxy that had once thought them insignificant. Patel finally spoke, breaking the silence. Captain, do you think we'll ever be ready for what's out there? Sarah smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. We'll never be completely ready, Patel. But humans, we don't need to be. We survive. That is our gift. That is our strength. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, the crew felt the weight of what they had accomplished. Not just survival, but proof. Proof that humans were not weak. Proof that courage and ingenuity could overcome any obstacle. And proof that even in a galaxy ruled by fear and power, a small, fragile species could shine brighter than the mightiest fleets. The USS Horizon moved forward, faster than before, carrying not just explorers, but the enduring spirit of humanity. And as Sarah gazed at the stars, she knew one truth above all. No matter how vast the galaxy, no matter the dangers that awaited, humans would survive. Humans would endure. And humans would always find a way to shine, even in the shadow of the greatest empire the universe had ever known. The journey was far from over. But the galaxy had just